The anime begins with a young boy named Lloyd receiving magical training in the 4 basic elements from his strict teacher. She started training him on the first element, fire, and sternly told him to continue practicing until he succeeded, otherwise he wouldn't get dinner today. This threat made Lloyd take the matter very seriously. Lloyd began training in magic with determination, and after a long time of continuous attempts, he went to his teacher and told her he had finally succeeded. He demonstrated what he had learned in front of her, which surprised the teacher with his quick progress, but she quickly extinguished his fire, then created a much larger fire in front of him, and told him the road ahead was very long, making him realize that what he had achieved was just a simple beginning. The next day, she began training him on extracting water from the ground. When Lloyd initially tried to imitate his teacher, he failed completely, so she explained it to him in a better and clearer way. When she extracted water from the ground in front of him, Lloyd was amazed by her power, and she asked him to try now. When he tried again, he succeeded and proudly told her about the presence of water, but she explained that while she was happy with his progress, she rewarded him by dropping a large amount of water on him and told him that this was real water. The following day, he showed he could use wind power, but his strength wasn't perfect yet. When his teacher saw this, she cast a strong wind at him which pushed him away from his spot, teaching him the difference between his limited power and her true strength. After that, they moved to the forest and he used ice power, creating an ice statue in the shape of his teacher, thinking she would like it, but when his teacher came and saw the statue, she used it against him. She grabbed Lloyd and enlarged the statue, then shattered it, causing Lloyd to fall amid scattered ice. He emerged from the ice, believing he lacked true power, and told his teacher he would work hard to obtain it. We then moved to the house where his teacher was very sick. Lloyd asked if she felt any better, but she was still in a lot of pain. Lloyd didn't stop helping her and cast a healing spell on her, after which the teacher improved. She hugged him for his help and thanked him, but then grabbed him and told him it was time to continue training. Days later, the teacher was sitting in her room reading a spell book and looking sad. Lloyd entered to tell her the food was ready, and as she placed the book on the table, it fell to the ground. When Lloyd picked it up and held it, something strange happened and he immediately lost consciousness, which greatly surprised the teacher. She picked up the book and believed Lloyd had the qualities to be chosen. Afterward, she sat alone, finished reading the book, and anticipated Lloyd's future fate. She went to Lloyd in his room where he was sleeping ill, and said to herself that she wouldn't let this boy repeat her mistakes. She kissed his forehead, leaving a mark similar to healing marks, which disappeared afterward. The next day, they went to the forest and he used the healing element on a fruit, causing it to develop and grow impressively. The teacher saw that he had become good with the healing element, but not like her, because she then healed the entire tree, not just one fruit. She told him that this should be real healing, and she picked one of the fruits, tasted it, and left, which amazed Lloyd with his teacher's tremendous power. They returned home where the teacher told him that some monster people could use strange magic to control monsters. Lloyd asked if this was strange magic, but the teacher refused to teach Lloyd this ancient magic, and told him he should stay away from it because it had been extinct for centuries. The next day, he began training again, and had a magic wand that he had hidden, but the teacher revealed it and hit him with it, knocking him down. She asked him to do it quickly and saw that he still lacked sufficient experience, and asked him not to slack off in training. They returned home again to discuss other types of magic, including the magic stone. She told him it was a crystallization of mana, and its power transformed everything around it into magic stone as well. Lloyd asked if it was possible to restore it. After several days, they went to the forest without Lloyd, knowing what would happen. The teacher uncovered his eyes and asked where he was. He was surprised when he saw a monster in front of him, so she handed him a knife and asked him to return home within a week, which shocked Lloyd. She told him he had to survive using magic, and left quickly. The monster immediately appeared and attacked Lloyd, but Lloyd quickly escaped and climbed a tree to avoid being caught by the monster. He thought he couldn't defeat this monster using white magic, and decided he needed to escape quickly. He used vision magic, and saw that the safe place was very far. He climbed down the tree and began walking with the knife. After nightfall, he went to a tree and developed a fruit and ate it, then stayed in a cave and used a circle spell for a minor enhancement to strengthen himself. In the morning, he went to climb mountains and almost fell. Night fell, so he went to stay inside a tree and used a spell to reduce mana usage. In the morning, he continued wandering in the forest and continued to enhance his strength completely. While on his way, he stepped on a small branch, causing a large monster to fall, but Lloyd avoided falling. When he saw the monster, he felt very confused and ran away immediately, while the monster chased him right away. Lloyd used a speed spell and increased his speed to avoid being devoured by the monster. He returned home but felt exhausted and lost consciousness. Then the teacher came out to him and proudly welcomed him for his success in the challenge. After several years, Lloyd became a grown young man and continued with housework. While cleaning, he found a book about a city near them. The teacher saw that he had stopped working and asked him to finish. Then he asked to borrow this book and she didn't mind at all. While he continued cleaning, she appeared to him again and asked for his help with an anti-aging spell. She pulled him forcibly and then returned him in the same improper manner. After that, they had lunch, but the teacher had an idea for a new enhancement magic. When night came, she didn't let him sleep either and asked him to stay with her. After that, he examined the city book even into the next day. The teacher went to his room to wake him up, but he wasn't there. She saw the city book on his desk and realized what had happened. We then moved to Lloyd on his way to the city. Lloyd moved to the city and was amazed by the large crowd everywhere, nearly getting run over by a moving cart. The cart driver told him to watch his step, while Lloyd thought the city was stunning and completely different from the quiet life he was used to. After that, he bought some pastries but ended up broke, and suddenly got bumped by a flyer. However, someone was watching him from a distance without him knowing. After reading the flyer, Lloyd learned about a job for adventurers and decided to join. Lloyd joined his new team on an adventure, with Yin as the team leader. During a confrontation with a monster, the beast delivered a blow that shattered the walls, leaving Lloyd astonished by its destructive power. Yin asked Sheena to use a healing spell, but Lloyd used it unnoticed, boosting the entire team and readied them to defeat the monster. One team member shot an arrow that hit the monster's eye, making it furious, and it lashed out at her, but her teammate defended her. Another team member bound the monster to keep it from moving, and finally, Yin landed a powerful blow and defeated it. Lloyd saw that they had somehow succeeded, but one of his female teammates was now focused on him. They returned to the city, and people awaited them, treating them like heroes. Then they went to the team's house, where Yin gave Lloyd his share of the money, telling him it was from rank D, and asked him not to take it the wrong way. But Lloyd didn't feel upset about the low rank at all. Yin suggested they celebrate their success, but Lloyd drifted away because he doesn't drink alcohol, which angered one of his teammates. Yin, however, dismissed it, saying any white mage could do the job and that they weren't much help in fighting. We shift to the teacher's home, where Lloyd's supervisor informed her that Lloyd had been hired by a team called the Heroes to slay monsters. The teacher saw this as his chance to fight in a real battle and felt he had nothing to fear as long as he didn't get full of himself. The supervisor asked if she regretted it, but the teacher replied she wouldn't make the same mistake twice. The supervisor reminded her of the time the Lord of Demons sacrificed himself trying to steal that magical book, in addition to trying to drag them to their doom. She recalled the past when ancient magic was used, and that ancient magic revived all those taken down by the Demon King in exchange for Lloyd's life. We returned to the city, where a vendor was selling books about Team Hero and their battles against a group of monsters, surrounded by many people. There were stories of Yin facing the monsters, but Lloyd appeared as their assistant, helping his teammate block the monster's blows until they managed to bind it, allowing Yin to land a hit. At Yin's house, he went to his friend's room and asked her why she was studying so hard these days. She was reading about the basics of defense, and Yin noticed she was working very diligently. Recently, however, she felt something odd with the strikes she was blocking with her shield. Yin told her it was overflowing with power, but he hadn't seen her train lately, and he didn't think it was necessary given her strength. We moved to the river, where 2 soldiers were killed by a giant monster close to the city. Back at Yin's house, he learned about the soldiers' deaths and was told to kill the monster. Yin thought the job was very easy. At the river, he asked if the monster was nearby. Lloyd assured him and managed to track it down. They entered the monster's lair, and Yin struck it down, but another monster appeared, shocking Lloyd and enraging Yin. Lloyd discovered that a demon was behind it, and the black gem in its magical staff was causing the disturbance, crystallizing mana, and was very rare. His friend asked if the gem was mana infused, while another teammate noticed he was using it to control the monsters. Lloyd used his special spell and told Lulu to shoot an arrow after he enhanced her, which surprised Lulu, but she managed to shoot the arrow and hit the demon. He asked Mia to bring him the staff, and Mia wondered if he wanted her to teleport it to him. When she did, Lloyd grabbed the staff, causing Mia to be surprised, and Yin to get angry, because Lloyd was overstepping his bounds as the leader. Yin suggested they pierce the monster, but Lloyd asked him to stop since the monster's actions would be unpredictable without the magical stone controlling it, and it would be dangerous to do so. But Yin attacked the monster anyway and ignored Lloyd's warning, nearly getting hit himself. But Lloyd used his power to push Yin out of the way of the monster's attack. Yin got mad again and told Lloyd not to interfere. Then Lloyd attacked the monster again and struck it down. At Yin's house, he decided to kick Lloyd out and told him so, saying he always stumbled in the back, and that even though he was supposed to be a white mage, he left all the healing to Sheena and was useless. Lloyd asked Yin, "Do you think I lack strength?" and believed he did, feeling sad. After realizing Lloyd was aware of himself too much, Yin told him to leave the team, and Lloyd walked away. Lloyd moved to another team in the guild and asked their leader to let him join, but the leader refused since they already had a white mage in their group. Lloyd kept walking and heard a girl asking a staff member to help her, pleading for a gem for a free white mage by tomorrow, but it was very difficult for the staff member. The adventurer asked the staff member again about any other available white mages, and pleaded with her a lot, but the staff member mentioned Lloyd. The adventurer quickly approached him and asked if he was a white mage. When he replied that he was, she asked, "Are you with a team?" But he told her he was currently unemployed. She grabbed him and asked him to accompany her. They were Lloyd's new team before he joined them on a mission to catch a group of thieves called the Mud Clumps. Cross the Archer thought they would succeed if they followed the plan. Celica, the sorceress, saw that they needed to be careful because it was a high-stakes mission. Yaoi, their leader, believed they could do it, but the team's white mage, Kulum, wasn't paying attention to them. She was busy with something else. Then, the team attacked the thieves, delivering powerful blows. Celica used fireballs, injuring the thieves and forcing them to hide behind wooden boxes. After Celica finished her attack, one of the thieves said, "We must attack her now. She's finished her strike." When they did, Cross's arrows were waiting for them and took them all out. Yaoi was successful in taking down the gang members one by one. She almost took a hit from one of the thieves, but Dagas intervened just in time and blocked the thief's blow until Kulum used her magic to strengthen Dagas's body. He pushed the thief away and threw him to the ground. They succeeded in eliminating the thieves, which terrified the leader of the thieves, who was hiding and amazed by what happened. He told himself he had to escape, but the adventurers appeared behind him. Yaoi asked him to surrender and quietly accompany them. The thieves' leader asked, "Who are you?" But he recognized them when he saw the insignia on Yui's pendant. Yaoi told him they were S-rank adventurers. Then the thieves' leader grabbed his staff, which had a magic stone, and told them they couldn't defeat this monster, even if they were S-rank. He showed them a huge stone golem, which surprised the adventurers. Celica speculated that because its stone body was massive, it would reduce the effectiveness of magic against it. Cross thought the same about bows and arrows. The thieves' leader laughed and mocked them, asking the golem to attack them, but Yaoi asked them to leave it to her. She attacked and struck the monster, but it had no effect at all. After that, the monster struck her, but she dodged the blow. Then Yaoi asked Kulum to cast a body-strengthening spell on her, but Kulum was distracted, which led Yaoi to ask her again. But this time Kulum listened and did it. Yaoi attacked again, and delivered a powerful blow to the monster, succeeding in completely destroying it. The team succeeded in the mission and tied up all the thieves. Then Kulum apologized to Yaoi for her distraction in battle, but Yaoi wasn't angry because she knew Kulum had something on her mind, her younger sister. This was why Kulum had been away from the team for a long time. Then, they went to the guild. After Yaoi found a replacement white mage for Kulum, who was Lloyd, she quickly went with him to her team's headquarters. Celica was surprised that she returned so quickly. Cross expected that she hadn't found any white mage, but she told them she had found one. However, Dagas didn't believe it and asked her, "Where is he?" Then Yaoi pointed to Lloyd and said she would introduce him to them and asked him his name. After Lloyd said his name, she told him he was the new white mage. Yaoi introduced Lloyd to the team members and said she was the team's swordswoman and leader. She welcomed him to their team, but Lloyd hadn't agreed to join them yet. Celica expected something like this. Dagas thought she brought him here without explaining everything to him. Cross thought they would refuse their current mission and that it would be impossible for them to do it without Kulum. Dagas doubted that Lloyd could fill Kulum's role. Celica understood Yui's feelings about giving up the mission, but Yaoi was very sad and asked them what would happen to their client if they refused the mission. She also mentioned that someone was asking for their help. Lloyd suggested they leave this mission to another team, but Celica said they couldn't because this was an A-rank mission, so only an A-rank team or higher could accept it. Dagas knew that all A-rank teams or higher were on external missions, and they were the only ones who could accept it since they were S-rank. This surprised Lloyd when he learned they were S-rank, and that it was the highest rank for adventurers. But Cross explained to them that adventurers could only work with registered members of their own team, so they couldn't borrow someone from another team. Lloyd wanted to help, but he remembered Alan's words that he was useless, which made him sad. But Yaoi saw no problem if Lloyd was amazing. Then they went to the forest, and Yaoi asked Lloyd to show them his skills so they could evaluate him. Lloyd felt they were putting high hopes on him, and felt very nervous, thinking he would disappoint them as he did with the previous team. Dagas thought Lloyd was embarrassed because they asked him to show his skills suddenly. He asked Yaoi to ask him about a spell he uses, and Yaoi agreed to this idea and asked him to cast a strengthening spell on all of them, which surprised Lloyd. Cross thought it would be difficult for him to do this because it was impossible for most white mages. But Lloyd asked them a question. If he cast a strengthening spell on them, would he then be considered a member of their S-rank team? Yaoi told him that was correct, and that they had to be empowered at the same time, and casting it on them one by one wouldn't count. Lloyd wondered what they wanted from him. Yaoi asked Lloyd if he couldn't do it, but this wasn't Lloyd's problem. Dagas asked him not to pretend to be strong and that there was no need to raise Yui's hopes. Cross asked him to tell them honestly if he could do it or not, but Lloyd asked them to give him some time. Then he showed his staff, which surprised Yaoi. Then Lloyd showed the magic circles and cast them on them. Yaoi asked Lloyd where he got this staff from, but he just used storage magic. He asked them what they thought of the strengthening magic he cast on them. They were surprised that he had cast it on them. Dagas was amazed that he didn't say any incantations. Cross felt his body became lighter. Then Yaoi stepped forward to test it and struck a tree, which cut down the tree, astonishing the entire team, who couldn't believe what happened. Lloyd told them that he had cast 5 spells: body strengthening, defense enhancement, magic power enhancement, mana consumption reduction, and resistance to negative statuses. Yaoi asked in surprise, he used 5 spells on everyone? He told her he did this because casting only a strengthening spell on everyone was very simple for him, so he thought they were asking for something bigger, but he thought he had made a mistake and hid his staff. He apologized to them for his poor performance and that he was not competent enough to be a white mage for this team and that he would leave. but Yui asked him to wait before he disappeared. Then Yui was surprised because he had been a member of a prestigious team, the Heroes team, but they had expelled him due to his lack of power. Cross asked, "How can he lack power after doing this to us?" Celica hadn't seen anyone use such a large amount of magic like this, but Lloyd believed there were white mages who surpassed him and with great power too. Cross asked about the flaw in his evaluation, but Lloyd told them about the previous white mage in this team and told them that bringing her back would be faster than adding him to them. But Yui told him about the white mage who was with them. She had a very sick younger sister whom she was taking care of, and all of this had drained her health and strength as well. They all noticed her exhaustion. Celica told him that she had been distracted in one of the recent missions, so she herself asked to leave the team. Cross understood from her that she didn't want to be a burden on them. Lloyd understood that they were looking for a white mage for that reason. Dagas thought they might go on the mission without a white mage, but they might be in danger, and this would be a great challenge for them. Yui wished Kulam was doing well now, and the rest of the team felt worried about her. Lloyd asked if she was important to all of them, which made him feel jealous. He asked them about her sister's illness, but Yui didn't know much about it, but it seemed that this disease turned the body into a magic stone. This surprised Lloyd, and he remembered what he had learned from his mentor when she told him about this disease. Then he asked Yui to lead him to Kulam's house. Then Lloyd and Yui went to Kulam's house, and Kulam was surprised by their visit. Lloyd asked Kulam about her sick sister's condition. Then Kulam told him that she had been adventuring with her younger sister, Sylvie, but she was injured during one of the missions and lost consciousness when she approached her location. Lloyd asked about the symptoms of her condition, but Kulam asked him to see her himself, which was better. Then Klum opened her room door, and a disgusting mana smell came out. Her room was full of the foul mana. Klum uncovered herself, showing Lloyd her bad condition, which surprised him. Klum explained that Sylvie was turning into magical stone because her mana was out of control, and her body was gradually transforming. It was only a matter of time before the full transformation. Lloyd approached Sylvie, and guessed that if his theory was correct, he could heal her, which shocked Klum. She said that high-level healing magic users had told her this was impossible. She asked what a normal white mage could do. Lloyd believed it was because she was exposed to pure magical stone. He asked Klum if Sylvie was injured in a cave with high mana density. Klum confirmed, saying the mission was to extract a magical stone from that cave. Lloyd asked where the wound was. Klum showed him. Lloyd's guess was correct. The mana entered through that spot and spread through her body, causing her transformation. Klum asked how he knew that. He told her he was taught by an excellent teacher. Yui asked Klum if she trusted Lloyd. Lloyd then showed his staff and used a magic circle but felt tired. Klum asked what happened. He said he used a reversed mana transfer spell to absorb mana from Sylvie. Klum wondered if he meant he restructured the spell. Lloyd said her transformation advanced because of the raging mana inside her, so he had to reduce her mana to near zero. Unless they removed the mana, no healing would work, and the transformation would start over. He then used his spell power but employed a flawed, low-efficiency version that consumed less mana, allowing him to burn a lot of the mana he absorbed while healing Sylvie. Yui and Klum were amazed. Yui asked Klum if this was impressive. Klum thought it was the most impressive thing ever because he made his own spells and cast 2 at once. Plus, it showed great endurance and willpower to withstand the huge mana consumption, something an ordinary person couldn't do. Later, Yui was surprised at Sylvie's recovering limbs. Lloyd succeeded in fully healing her. Yui approached Lloyd and told him he had succeeded. Sylvie woke up and called her older sister. Klum cried a lot out of worry for Sylvie, then thanked Lloyd and told him that once Sylvie fully recovers, she would go on adventures with her again. Yui saw this as reasonable and better for her. Klum said their next meal was on her. Yui said goodbye to her and Lloyd too. Klum stopped Lloyd and told him she was relieved to have the team with him and asked him to take care of them well. Lloyd was not an official member yet and still lacked strength. Then we moved to Hana. Lloyd's new team gathered for food and drinks. Dagas told Lloyd he did a great job healing Sylvie. Yui noticed Lloyd was still very humble and joked about hitting him. Lloyd was overjoyed because Sylvie recovered, but unfortunately, Clown wouldn't rejoin the team. Silica said they needed to think about their future. Kroos was very happy now. Dagas said their friend got a new chance at life, and there was nothing to stop them from celebrating it. Yui thanked Lloyd for saving Sylvie. Lloyd recalled Alan's harsh words toward him. Dagas asked the team what they wanted if they were given a new life. Silica wanted to be a wife, and while they talked, Lloyd interrupted and asked them to join their team, surprising everyone. He said, assuming they didn't mind having him, which annoyed Yui. Dagas thought Lloyd was against the idea, but Kroos was very happy. Silica felt reassured by Lloyd's presence. Yui welcomed Lloyd to join them, and he shook her hand and thanked them for the hospitality. Yui said they should celebrate welcoming the new member now. Lloyd thought it wasn't necessary, but Yui insisted that's how things should be done. She said she would host the party and asked if he would come. Lloyd agreed. The rest of the team thought she wanted to let loose, but Yui told them that wasn't the case and that she was serious. They had misunderstood. After that, they celebrated Lloyd joining them and offered him a lot of food. Yui asked Lloyd to eat as much as he wanted until he was full, showing their hospitality. Lloyd accepted her offer and ate a lot of food, which surprised the rest of the team. Dagdas saw that Lloyd was very hungry. After Lloyd finished eating, he told them that the food in this city was wonderful, but Cross surprisingly told him that this place was very ordinary. However, Lloyd thought the city's food had a special taste, which made him wonder what he used to eat when he was young. Cross asked Lloyd what he used to eat when he was young. Lloyd said that when he lived with his teacher, she would cook whatever grew outside in the garden, or roasted monster meat. But Silika didn't think this was food at all. However, that's why Lloyd prepared meals, but he had never tasted such a flavor before. Yui asked Lloyd to describe his teacher to them, which surprised him. She told him she wanted to get to know her since she taught him magic, and the rest of the team also requested this because they were curious about it. But Lloyd told them that she was more inclined to fighting, and that many explosions occurred when she conducted her magic experiments. Silika discovered that the teacher was not a white mage, but she taught Lloyd magic. Lloyd confirmed this to her and also told her that she was completely proficient in magic, so much so that she couldn't be compared to anyone. Silika wished she could learn from her if she had the chance, but Lloyd immediately prevented her and warned her against it, saying that learning under her supervision was something she should avoid at all costs. He remembered what happened to him during training. Cross thought she was a strict teacher. Lloyd said that sometimes she was very kind and recalled pleasant situations with her. Then Yui told them that they should start their strategic meeting soon. Lloyd asked what that was. Cross said they should explain the mission to Lloyd first, and Dagdas agreed to this suggestion so that Lloyd wouldn't get lost in the meeting since he wasn't familiar with the mission. But Yui wasn't good at explaining and asked Dagdas to explain it to him. Dagdas had no objection to this, but asked her to announce the mission. When Yui showed the mission, Dagdas told Lloyd that their mission was to defeat a group of monsters that had been destroying farms. Since their appearance, they had destroyed crops. Lloyd asked if there were more than one type of monster. Silika thought there were several types of monsters, but Lloyd hadn't heard of different types of monsters forming a herd. This was strange for Dagdas, but since it was a mission, they had to take it on and pay attention to it. Yui emphasized this, saying that if there was a problem facing people, an adventurer should solve it. But Cross thought that if they were going to attack monsters, this mission wouldn't suit him or Yui either. Yui suggested that this was Silika's time to attack the monsters. Silika confirmed this, but she had a problem. Wide area attacks consumed a lot of mana, and it might be difficult depending on their numbers. Yui asked Lloyd if he could use offensive magic. Lloyd was not unable to use it, but he couldn't generate firepower equal to a specialized mage. Then Dagdas asked to define the main roles for their plan. He and Yui would start by attracting the enemy's attention and gathering them in one place, and then Silika would strike her blows. Cross asked about his role, and Dagdas asked him to protect Silika and Lloyd from the monsters. Lloyd would contribute healing, magic, and support because this was the job of a white mage. Dagdas would decide the rest in the mission field, and they couldn't know all the details from the mission information alone. Yui thought that everything was good this way, and Silika was very excited about Lloyd handling support magic for them. Lloyd asked her not to get her hopes up too much, which disappointed them. Yui asked Lloyd to trust himself more than this, but Lloyd had been expelled from the hero's team due to his lack of power. However, Cross preferred people like Lloyd over those who were arrogant because they were strong, which made Lloyd a little more enthusiastic than before. Then they left the tavern, and Dagdas told them they would meet tomorrow in front of the inn. He asked Yui not to oversleep, which angered her because he treated her like a child and she was 17 years old. But Cross thought this age was a sensitive stage between youth and adulthood, which annoyed Yui, and she told them not to forget that she was the team leader. Then everyone went in one direction, and Lloyd went in the opposite direction, but Dagdas told him that the inn was in that direction. However, Lloyd couldn't go to the inn with them because he couldn't afford it, but Dagdas gave him a bag of money and asked him to use it. But Lloyd didn't want to take this bag, but Dagdas told him that it would be deducted from him after receiving the reward for the next mission. Then Yui asked why they were standing. Dagdas told her they were coming right away, and Lloyd promised Dagdas he would repay him this amount, and Dagdas looked forward to it. Then they moved to the inn, and Lloyd went to his room and told himself that the members of this team were very kind, and he should benefit them. The next day, they were waiting for Yui in front of the inn, and when she came out, Dagdas told her it was good that she didn't oversleep, which annoyed her again. Then Yui asked about the luggage of the rest of the team, and Cross told her that Lloyd had stored it using storage magic, which surprised Yui that they could do this with her luggage too. When he hid Yui's luggage, she was very happy that she wouldn't have to carry her luggage anymore, and Silika felt happy because this burden was lifted from her. Then Lloyd suggested that he could teach them this, which astonished them. Yui asked if they could do this. Lloyd confirmed this to her because everyone is born with a little mana, so this is not a rare thing. But Dagdas had never seen anyone do this before. But Lloyd said that teaching this doesn't take long, but increasing storage capacity requires some training. Cross thought that this way he could carry a lot of arrows. Silika asked him to teach her this quickly, and Lloyd did not refuse at all. Then Yui began to move freely and asked them to go to the mission location now. Then they moved to the farmlands, and Dagdas told Lloyd that behind those towering mountains lay the magic country, and they were hiding from view now. He wondered when they would attempt to invade the continent again. Lloyd expected that this was their goal. Then they continued walking, and were crossing a bridge in the air to reach the other side, and they felt very scared. Yui tried to distract them somehow and asked them, when you make something up to get through a situation, how do you muddy the waters? And everyone offered answers except Lloyd, but Yui asked Lloyd to also tell a silly joke. But Lloyd hadn't learned this skill from his teacher. But Cross told him that intentionally telling a silly joke causes laughter because of the mistake. Lloyd asked if he should say something silly then, and that he would try this. But Yui clarified to him that taking this seriously loses its meaning, and that she invented this game to relieve stress during long journeys. Lloyd wondered why they were doing this, and Yui thought that if the mission was difficult, the constant tension would exhaust them. Then Yui asked another question. When spoils are distributed, shares are distributed equally, but what do you call someone who invents a completely new path? And everyone offered answers again, but Lloyd couldn't do it this time and hesitated until he told them that this was a flimsy excuse. Cross told him that he now understood the matter and could now tell a joke if he tried. Then they moved to the forest, and there was a mage performing a magical ritual using a stone. Then they moved to the team again, and they arrived at the campsite early because they weren't carrying luggage. Then Lloyd showed the luggage and began setting up the tents. Yui and Silika brought water, and after that, they finished setting up the tents completely. Yui asked Dagdas if there was a problem if they went to wash now, but Dagdas did not agree because they had a lot of work to do, such as gathering firewood and food. Then Lloyd volunteered to gather the firewood, which made Yui happy, and she took Silika and left. Then Lloyd went to gather firewood, and after he had enough, he saw a tree with fruits like those he used to train with the teacher. He picked one of the fruits and tasted it because it was very delicious. Then he heard Yui and Silika screaming while they were washing in the lake. He looked at them and saw a monster with them in the lake, which made them feel very scared. Then the monsters approached them, but Lloyd immediately rushed to help them and directed a fire blow at the monster, which distracted it. He asked Yui and Silika to go to dry land quickly, and showed Yui and Silika's weapons and threw them to them. He also strengthened them, and they became ready to face the monster. Then Yui attacked the monster and succeeded in hitting it. Then Silika directed a spell of fireballs, which completely destroyed the monster. She was surprised by the power with which she hit the monster. When Lloyd and Yui appeared again so that they would not be harmed by Silika's blow, Yui asked Lloyd to store this weapon again. Then they moved back to the camping spot again, and Lloyd started teaching them how to store things. All they had to do was make an opening with the palm of their hand. He showed them a glowing crystal, but they couldn't do it either, so they asked to keep trying for now. Then they all tried to master it, but they still couldn't do it. Lloyd thought he was a bad teacher and apologized to them because he wanted to help, but they didn't see it that way since they were beginners. They told him not to be hard on himself, which made Lloyd happy to hear. But Silika succeeded. When she said the word storage, she realized they had to do it. After some time, Silika managed to store her staff, which made everyone happy. Cross tried it too. Then night came, and Yui and Lloyd were still awake. Yui noticed that there were no monsters, and asked if something was wrong. Then Yui approached him and thanked him for joining their team, but Lloyd was also stuck and without work. Yui thought he was forced to join them and asked Lloyd why Yui was so obsessed with this mission. She said it reminded her of her hometown because when she was a child, monsters attacked their village, and she was the only survivor. So, she couldn't ignore this when she heard about this monster herd. Also, the small settlements would face a huge crisis if they lost the food coming from her farm. Then Lloyd asked her to stop talking and told her to wake everyone up. A group of monsters appeared, but they hid behind the trees. Dagas told them those were a herd of ballorks, which matched the mission description. Yui asked where they were heading. Lloyd saw a group near them and signaled them to be careful. While they were cautiously moving backward, Yui stepped on a piece of firewood, making a noise that caught the monsters' attention. They started heading toward them. They ran fast, but the monsters chased them and then surrounded them. The team showed their weapons. The monsters shot webs at them, and Dagas and Yui managed to block them. One nearly hit Cross if Silika hadn't intervened, but the monsters succeeded in grabbing Silika's staff. They wrapped them with webs from all sides, preventing movement. Dagas asked what to do now, but Lloyd would hinder their moves. Lloyd then used his spell and told Yui to attack. Yui succeeded in cutting all the webs. Cross jumped high and managed to free Silika's staff, throwing it back to her. Then Yui attacked one of the monsters, smashing its limbs and knocking it down. The monster tried to attack her again, but she hit it again. She jumped high and used its webs to move to another monster. Lloyd told Silika and Cross to get ready. Silika teamed up with Cross, using fireballs and arrows that burned all the monsters completely. After they succeeded, Lloyd apologized for giving them orders, but Daga said he was a big help and truly qualified for this. Yui told him they would rely on him after that. Silika told him that despite his hesitation now, the next day, everyone stored their own gear, and everyone was very happy about that. They set off afterward, but Lloyd stopped and wondered why the ball orcs were here and where they were headed. Then Yaoi caught up with them. Lloyd and his party camped in another location. He was still thinking about the herd of paw orcs, wondering where they were headed. He thought they should be very careful. Yaoi and Silica came to him, and Yaoi asked him to go to sleep for the night since he had stood watch alone the previous night. However, Lloyd refused to go, wanting to stand watch himself because he was weak. He wanted them to conserve their strength for when they needed it. Silica also offered to take turns with him, but he refused that as well. Yaoi, however, sees him as very useful to the team and believes he should rest. But Silica interrupted her and told Lloyd to let them know if he needed anything. Cross and Dagas were watching the conversation from inside their tents. The next day, they started moving, then stopped to take a break. Lloyd, however, continued to keep watch. He then used his special magic for scouting. Yaoi approached him and asked, "What are you doing?" He told her he was scouting to check if there were any monsters nearby, which surprised Yaoi that he could use this magic too. But Lloyd doesn't see what he's doing as impressive, and his scouting doesn't cover a wide area, but it's better than nothing. He also uses it at regular intervals to ensure their surroundings are safe, which helps them prevent any surprise attacks from monsters. Yaoi thought this was very useful, but felt it was an excessive burden on Lloyd. However, Lloyd had no problem with it. Yaoi asked Lloyd if she could help him, but Lloyd didn't think so, which embarrassed Yaoi greatly, and she backed away from him. Night fell upon them, and Lloyd continued to keep watch. We switched to Yaoi inside her tent, wondering if Lloyd doesn't trust them. She thought having him with them was wonderful, but he couldn't do everything. It was sad that he didn't rely on them, especially since they were friends now. But Silica didn't see what they could do. Things were just progressing at their own pace. They weren't close at first, and the time they spent together is what brought them to this point. She had no doubt there was something that explained the discrepancy between his competence and his self-esteem, as well as his motivation to work so hard. She asked her if she agreed, but Yaoi suspected that Lloyd was a puzzling mystery if you thought about it. Despite his ignorance about much of the world, he had extensive knowledge of other things. She wondered about the life he had lived before, but Silica thought he would tell them about himself one day. When that time comes, she felt they shouldn't rush it. Yaoi understood what Silica meant and thought she was right, but Silica believes the truth might be very different from what she imagines, because Lloyd is not ordinary. We switched to Lloyd. Dagas came to him and told him he wanted his help with something and asked him to come along, but Lloyd was concerned about the watch. Cross appeared and told him he would take over guard duty, allowing him to go with Dagas. They moved to the middle of the forest, where Dagas tied several ropes between the trees near them. Lloyd asked, "What's this?" Dagas told him these were adgrass ropes and that they make a sound when monsters get close to them. Lloyd understood that this was very useful, but Dagas did this so Lloyd could rest for the night. Lloyd was grateful for Dagas' kindness, but didn't think it was necessary for him to rest. Dagas explained that they used to sleep like this before he joined them and asked him not to overwork himself. But Lloyd can't use his scouting magic while he's asleep and has to keep the magic active. Dagas approached Lloyd and asked him if he didn't trust them. Lloyd doesn't doubt the function of the bell, but assumes they should be more careful, just to be sure. But Dagas didn't mean that. He asked, "Can you not trust us personally?" This upset Lloyd, and he denied it, saying of course he trusted them. But he handles the guard duty and scouting at night by himself without including them. Dagas thought this was proof of his lack of trust in them. Lloyd then remembered his teacher's words to him, and also Alan's words, that he lacked strength and was useless. He returned to the present and told Dagas that if he didn't work hard, he would cause trouble for everyone. But Dagas told him to cause trouble and that they formed the party for this very reason, so they could handle things they couldn't handle on their own. They would surely cause trouble for each other. He asked him to rely on them more than this. Lloyd had never thought about it like that before, which made Dagas feel disappointed for talking to him. Lloyd didn't see any problem with someone like him, who lacked strength, relying on others. But Dagas doesn't see him as lacking strength, and neither does the rest of the team. He told him to go back and sleep because morning comes early. They returned to the camp, and he went inside the tent and finally slept. The next day, Yaoi woke up, and Lloyd came to her, hesitant to ask her for something. He then asked her to help him get some water. Yaoi was surprised, but then felt happy and agreed to his request. They went to fetch water, and the rest of the party felt happy about this. We switched to a nobleman, Michel, who had one of his mages with him. The mage informed him that they had finished installing the magic stones at the specified coordinates. Michel believed that the path on the map was now open. Michel then asked the mage, what about the high-ranking adventurers in the Ashtar region? The mage told him that the damage caused by the monsters had overwhelmed them with quest requests, so most of them were now outside the city. Thus, Michel had succeeded in keeping them away. The mage knows that only a group of ordinary adventurers and the hero's party are left in the city. Michel wished he could send the hero's party away too, but the hero's party only moves at the request of the state. He wanted to see the hero's party's performance now that they were alone. He told the mage to go and inform their client that the time had come. The mage immediately disappeared. We switched back to Lloyd's party. They continued walking through the forest, and Yaoi felt that something was wrong with this forest. They all agreed, noting that they hadn't seen a single monster since entering this area. Cross wouldn't be surprised realized if this was the main road, but it was impossible for them to feel anything at this depth. Yui asked Lloyd if he could do anything with his magic, but Lloyd refused, because using magic periodically doesn't have an effect that would drive away monsters. Dagus wondered what exactly was happening here, but Lloyd said he would try to expand his search range a little. He performed the scouting and was surprised. Yui asked if he had discovered something. Lloyd confirmed that there was a group of monsters about 10 kilometers away, which astonished the rest of the party. Cross then showed the map and discovered that this path leads to the farm. Lloyd came closer to tell them something, but Yui stepped forward and asked Lloyd in amazement, "Can you scout everything within that distance?" Lloyd confirmed, "Of course," but Yui knew from him that he couldn't. Lloyd's exploration covered a wide area, but 10 kilometers wasn't a vast distance for him, which amazed Yui. Celica, however, thought this exploration was equivalent to 10 times a normal person's range. Lloyd explained to them that exploration increases mana consumption greatly, so it isn't practical. Yui didn't see that as the problem right now, but Dagus understood how Yui felt, though this wasn't the time to discuss it. Cross saw that Yui's heart wouldn't be able to take it if she kept receiving shocks from Lloyd. Celica agreed with Cross and asked them to head to the location now. They then teleported to the farm, where there were many monsters. Yui had never seen a pack like this before, made up of high wolves. However, Lloyd discovered that this was the only location where the exploration had detected the presence of monsters. He wondered where the rest of the monsters went. Celica also understood the situation and thought the forest was teeming with other strong monsters, so it was hard to imagine this was the result of a natural conflict. But Cross didn't see any signs of a fight in the forest. Dagas couldn't believe the monsters would abandon their territory for no reason. Lloyd asked who the current owner of this farm was. Yui had heard he was injured by a large wolf and took refuge at his son's house in the city. Lloyd wanted to talk to him to ask several questions to find any clues about what was happening. But then, a strange, frightening thing appeared, which only Cross saw because the others didn't have his sharp eyesight. Lloyd used a spell that enhanced his vision, and when he looked closely, he saw the black stone, and that it was indeed strange. Yui asked Lloyd if he could see it. Lloyd said he used a vision enhancement spell and asked if they wanted it too. Yui immediately agreed. Lloyd then used the enhancement magic on them, and they were able to see the black stone. Celica felt worried about the fog surrounding the black stone. Dagus asked what kind of magic stone it was. Lloyd knew this fog was part of its mana, but this feeling indicated it was beastfolk mana. He had heard this from his master, who told him that some beastfolk can use unusual spells to control monsters. Yui asked Lloyd if he thought this black stone was capable of doing that. Then, Lloyd felt something strange, performed an exploration, and told them another horde was coming their way, which made them feel anxious. Dagus asked for any information about it. Lloyd learned it was a different mix of monsters, and their number was over 4-0, which shocked the rest of the team. Lloyd thought the black stone was most likely the cause, and that it had the ability to attract monsters. Yui was surprised that someone would do this. Lloyd wondered if someone wanted to get rid of them, but the scale of what was happening was beyond that. He discovered they were targeting something else. Cross suggested they retreat now, but Yui refused because they would destroy the fields. Cross, angry, asked Yui, "Can you face thousands of monsters head-on?" Yui hesitated in her answer, but Dagus thought it would be difficult for them to escape now. Celica thought if the monsters chased them and the fight happened near the city, the residents might suffer collateral damage. Lloyd suggested they fight, which surprised everyone. He had a plan. Lloyd then asked Cross if he could hit the stone. Cross saw that it was very far but thought he could do it, though he wasn't sure he could break it after hitting it. But that was enough for Lloyd, who said he was counting on him. Cross then took aim, and Lloyd also used a spell to provide support to compensate for the lack of power. After he enhanced Cross, Cross fired the arrow and succeeded in hitting the black stone, completely shattering it, which made Cross happy. He asked Lloyd what he did to his arrow because this power was amazing. Lloyd had used strengthening magic on him, the arrow, and the bow as well, which amazed Cross. Cross asked Lloyd if he could strengthen people and weapons at the same time. Lloyd asked, "Isn't that normal?" But it wasn't normal for Cross. Lloyd told him he only used strengthening magic, and that Cross was the one who hit the target with a single shot thanks to his skills, which made Cross feel flustered. Yui then pointed them towards the wolves and asked them to look. The wolves were devouring each other. Lloyd believed that shattering the black stone had restored their natural ferocity, and it was impossible for them to wipe each other out, but this was enough to reduce their numbers. Yui was amazed as usual and asked Lloyd if he knew this would happen. Of course, Lloyd knew this because the monsters were under the influence of the black stone, and he wanted to stop this horde as well. They then prepared for the large horde of monsters, and different types of monsters appeared. Yui asked Lloyd, "Now?" But he thought the time wasn't right yet. The monsters got very close to them, but Lloyd still saw that the time hadn't come. When the monsters attacked Celica, Lloyd told her to attack. Celica then unleashed her firepower and succeeded in burning the monsters, which amazed the entire team because the flames were much stronger than usual. Yui asked Lloyd what he did to Celica. Lloyd had used strengthening spells on Celica, increasing her magic power and reducing her mana consumption. He asked them if that was enough. Yui saw that it was enough. Lloyd then asked Celica to continue, but Celica felt she could launch 5 more. Lloyd saw that this was good and told her to switch to wind magic when she was done. Lloyd then moved to Cross, but Cross understood Lloyd's plan. He wanted to burn the forest using the fire fire and used the wind element with it so the smoke would obstruct the flying monster's vision. Lloyd then used a telepathy spell, and Cross could hear Lloyd's words directly in his head. He would also share the locations of the monsters he had identified through his exploration magic. Lloyd then asked Cross, "Do you see them?" Cross confirmed he saw them and took aim. He succeeded in hitting the monsters, causing many of them to fall. Lloyd then told Celica they were entering the final stages, but Celica had almost exhausted her energy. Lloyd didn't see any problem and asked her to hold his hand. When Celica held Lloyd's hand, he transferred mana to her, which greatly amazed Celica. But after this happened, Lloyd fell to the ground. He told Celica he had given her a large amount of mana all at once, and asked her to hurry. Celica immediately used her power and summoned rain to put out the fire. Lloyd saw that this prevented the fire from spreading in the forest. Celica thought so too, but she ran out of mana again and fell to the ground. Degas saved her before she hit the ground and told her she did well. Yui also asked her to rest a little and that they would get rid of the rest quickly. Celica asked Yui not to push herself too hard, but Yui didn't want to hear that from her. She told Lloyd he was truly amazing and that she couldn't believe he thought of a strategy like this, but Lloyd saw that he hadn't done anything more than any other member and that he had just played his assigned support role. Yui expected he would say that this time too and didn't care. She then asked them to leave the rest to them. Lloyd was counting on them. Lloyd then lay on the ground, unable to believe he was this tired. Yui and Dagas continued to kill the monsters. Yui saw that Lloyd's strengthening magic was very amazing, and Celica was cheering them on a lot. Dagas and Yui returned after finishing off the monsters. Yui asked about Celica's condition. Celica was fine now. Lloyd then asked Yui to return to the city quickly, but Yui felt very exhausted and asked him if there was a reason for them to do this. Lloyd said that if his guess was correct, the person responsible for this was targeting Ashtar, which surprised the team, as he had deceived them all. The episode begins with Greist kidnapping one of the girls and succeeding in this. One of the guards tried to catch him but failed, which made the guard extremely angry, and he threatened to kill Greist. Lloyd showed a box of special energy drinks, opened a bottle from them, and drank. He told them that this mission was a big trap to deceive them, sending high-ranking adventurers on missions that would keep them busy away from Ishtar and would take a long time to return. Yui asked if this was meant to weaken Ishtar's defenses, but Cross believed that the hero was in Ishtar, in addition to the knights, making it difficult to take down the city easily. Lloyd thought Cross was right, but Dagas, the more he thought about it, became convinced that Lloyd's and Cross's intuition was correct. He was more puzzled about this magic stone. Then Yui asked them all to go to Ishtar now, and everyone agreed. Lloyd finished his drink, hid the box again, and revealed his magic wand. He cast a speed enhancement spell on them. Lloyd ran first, then the others followed him immediately. Then we moved to Michelle's house where he had his special drink in front of him. Greist appeared to him, but Michelle welcomed him and called him respected agent. Greist asked Michelle not to call him that. After Michelle drank his drink, Greist told him that their vanguard was descending on Ishtar now, and that their plan was proceeding smoothly. Michelle was confident about this and the success of the plan as well, all thanks to the kidnapped girl. Greist thought she would serve them in the future, but Michelle saw her as an interesting character whose use would greatly benefit them. Greist doesn't know what Michelle is thinking and what's going on in his head, but he follows him because he's carrying out the Demon Lord's orders, and that's all Michelle wants. Then Greist said goodbye to Michelle and left. Then we moved to the kidnapped girl who remembered when her power was taken from her through a device and placed in a box of bottles. Then we moved to Lloyd and his team who are continuing to run towards Ishtar through the grass. They took a rest, and Lloyd offered them a mana potion. Dagas thought they would return to Ishtar quickly if they continued at this rate. Celica asked Lloyd if all this effort was too much for him, as she heard that maintaining enhancement magic requires a lot of mana. Lloyd told her this applies to those who aren't used to using it continuously, but he was used to it and could reduce mana consumption greatly. Celica was surprised he was accustomed to it, and asked if he had done this many times before. Lloyd thought his frequent use forced him to adapt to it. He then told them about his past when his teacher left him alone in the forest, and forced him to go home by himself. He encountered many monsters that were difficult to defeat, and escaping was the best option for him. At that time, he had to use many types of enchantment magic to survive, but it was a hellish time for him. Yui thought he suffered greatly, but Lloyd was just inexperienced at the time, though he was sure it was just a regular training exercise. He also remembered when his teacher made him angry, but afterward discovered it was very beneficial training for him. Yui expected that Lloyd's training wasn't normal at all, and Celica saw this too, but Lloyd thought it didn't even qualify as normal training. He thought he hadn't trained enough, and believed that since they were S-rank adventurers, their level was different from his, but he would train harder and work diligently to support them. Then he hid the box of bottles, but Yui told Celica that Lloyd misunderstood again. Dagas prepared to move again, but Lloyd used his exploration magic. Yui thought they should stay alert for any danger, and they moved again. Yui and Celica were very happy with the speed enhancement magic and that they were running faster than usual, but Lloyd suddenly stopped, causing the others to collide with him and fall to the ground. Lloyd detected something through his exploration magic. Dagas asked if it was monsters. Celica thought it might be a hunter chasing prey, but Lloyd Lloyd had a bad feeling and asked the rest of the team to go ahead to Ishtar while he would check it out and return to them. But Yui told him they would accompany him. Lloyd refused, saying he would check it out and return immediately. But Yui told him he didn't know what awaited him and that he couldn't fight alone. Lloyd was convinced by Yui's words, and the rest of the team told him they were one team and should help each other. Then we moved to a group of sorcerers creating a spell. Lloyd and his team moved to these sorcerers in front of their location. Lloyd told them about the presence of demons in front of them with an extra person. Yui asked if they were demons from the magic state. Lloyd remembered his conversation with Dagas when he told him that behind these mountains lies the magic state, but they hide from sight and no one knows when they will return to invade the continent. Lloyd thought this was their goal and believed that demons were forbidden from entering the three major states on the continent. But Yui knew that many invasions had occurred since ancient times by leaders of the magic state, and asked him if he wasn't worried about this. But Lloyd has no memories from his childhood, and the war ended when his teacher took him in. Celica asked Lloyd if he was a war orphan. Yui apologized to him because she implied he didn't care, but Lloyd asked her not to worry about it. Cross suggested informing the knights upon returning to Ishtar, but Lloyd wanted to gather more information before reporting it. However, Cross saw this as very dangerous, and he also knows this, but Lloyd sensed the same mana as the previous magic stone near the demons. Dagas believed that these demons are connected to what happened at the monster farm. Lloyd thought if their target was Ashtar, then it's worth the risk. Yui believed she should go because these demons might escape if they left them, and they couldn't leave them without deterrence. She wanted them to do something about this, which surprised everyone with her enthusiasm. Cross observed that she was talking like a leader now, but Dagas agreed with Yui and said they should deter these demons and resolve this matter. They proceeded to the house carefully so no one would see them. Cross looked inside but didn't see anyone. Lloyd used a detection spell and discovered they were underground. They advanced to the position above them, and Dagas thought there must be some entrance to reach them, but Lloyd said there was no need to search for them. He asked Silica, "Can you use earth magic, right?" When Silica confirmed she could, he cast an enhancement spell on them, and Silica successfully created a hole in the ground, destroying the ground above the demons' heads, which made them stop what they were doing. Yui pointed her sword at one of them and asked, "Who are you? What are you doing in this country? What are you planning?" But another sorcerer attacked Yui, though she successfully blocked it. The sorcerer whom Yui was holding managed to escape. Cross hit one of them with an arrow. Lloyd enhanced Silica and asked her to use her power again until she succeeded in exposing them again. One of the demons launched a stone attack at Silica, but Dagas blocked it. One of the demons escaped through a door and locked it. Yui tried to follow him but couldn't open the door again. The remaining demons were about to attack Yui, but Cross intervened to stop them, and Yui managed to defeat them. Lloyd informed them that one demon had escaped. The scene shifts to the escaped demon, who cast a spell on the kidnapped girl, wrapped her up, and carried her. But Lloyd and his team appeared. The demon immediately fled again, but they followed him. Yui and Cross managed to surround him from the sides until he was completely surrounded. Lloyd asked him to surrender, saying he wanted information from him, but the demon told him he had nothing to tell. The demon used a spell to send a shock at them, but Lloyd blocked it and provided protection to his entire team until the demon was hit by his own attack. Lloyd then put the kidnapped girl down on the ground and examined her, discovering she was one of the monster folk. They moved back inside the house and placed the girl on a bed to provide her rest. Silica expected that this girl was from the Forest Empire since she was from the monster folk, but Cross didn't think she would speak in this condition. Dagas asked Lloyd if he could heal her, and Lloyd said he would try. Lloyd cast a healing spell on the girl, which greatly surprised Silica. Yui wasn't surprised because he had healed Sylvie from the magic stone in front of her, and she believed most adventurers weren't capable of this. Silica thought that the ability to modify magic was impressive, but Lloyd was forced by his teacher to help her with this. He remembered when she asked him to create different spells like improved healing and treating aging, and that she was eccentric, but Yui thought this was a mild description of her. The girl woke up, but Yui approached her directly and asked her what she was doing in this place, and asked for her name. The girl tried to say her name but couldn't. Yui discovered that the girl's name was Korea. Yui asked Korea why she was a prisoner of the demons. Lloyd told Korea that they were adventurers on a mission to protect a village from monsters, but he sensed the presence of monster folk mana there. Lloyd approached Korea and told her he heard that some of them could use magic to control monsters, and asked if this was her power. Korea confirmed this was true. The scene shifts to two soldiers in the forest who were watching the area. They found a black stone in the middle of the forest. When one of them approached to see what it was and touched the black stone, a large group of monsters appeared. The other soldier ran away quickly, but the one who touched the stone couldn't escape and was devoured. Back to Lloyd and his team, Lloyd asked Korea if she could lead monsters through her magic. Korea confirmed this, and Lloyd was very surprised because the ability to control monsters could be very dangerous depending on how it's used. Lloyd asked Korea if the demons forced her to do this, and Korea answered that they did. Dagas told Lloyd that the demons captured Korea to use monsters in their forces, which clarified things for Lloyd. He also discovered that Ashtar was under attack from the magic country. Dagas expected that if they controlled Ashtar, they would be able to invade the continent, but Yui thought there was a possibility that Ashtar was now in battle. Lloyd asked that they return there now, and they moved quickly with Korea joining them. She saw that she would be in trouble if they left her alone. They took a rest, and Lloyd gave a vial of mana to Korea, then used detection magic, and discovered a crowd of monsters. Yui asked if this crowd was was heading towards Ashtar, and Lloyd confirmed this, but this wasn't Lloyd's problem. He told them about the presence of a very large army behind them. Yui asked Lloyd what they should do. Lloyd asked to borrow Korea's power and asked the rest of his team to go warn the city and prepare for battle. One person cannot be in two places at once, and he needs friends to do this. Then Lloyd showed his staff and enhanced his entire team, including Korea. Lloyd's team quickly moved to the city, and Lloyd and Korea were heading towards the monsters. We move to Alan, the leader of the heroes team. He's angry and throws the applicants' papers to the ground. He sees them as useless and wonders if they don't know they're applying to Alan's, the heroes team. He thinks these mages are lower level than Lloyd, who was kicked out. He wouldn't have approved any of them unless they could at least use storage magic, but the rest of the team thought none of the applicants could use storage magic, and their limit was using 2 spells at once. Then Alan asks if all the supporters are a bunch of idiots. Then the girl asks Alan if it ever occurred to him that Lloyd was special, but Alan mocks her and tells her that this scum wasn't special. Then a knight enters and informs Alan about a large group of soldiers heading towards Ishtar, which surprises Alan. They are setting up defensive lines now, and requesting help from Alan and his team, which leads to Alan's agreement. He asks the knight to leave it to him, which excites the knight after hearing this. The knight informs Alan that he will go and tell everyone about it. Then the white-haired girl asks Alan if he's sure about this. But Alan believes this is a request from the king, and he shouldn't refuse it at all. He sees this as a good opportunity for people to witness his great power. Then we move to the monster's location in the forest. Lloyd and Korea are observing the monsters from the top of the mountain. Lloyd believes this horde is the same size as the one heading to Ishtar, or maybe even bigger. He also believes that if a horde like this joins the attackers, Ishtar will be destroyed. He thinks he made the right decision when their team separated, and that he must eliminate this horde by any means. Then Korea asks if it's possible to stop the monsters without killing them. Lloyd is surprised by this, but Korea sees that these monsters are being exploited and forced into this because of the power the demons stole from them. She never wanted this conflict and doesn't want to harm more creatures. Lloyd asks Korea if she cares about the monsters that much, but Lloyd tells her that he will think of a way to liberate the horde with minimal harm and that it's better to resolve things without resorting to killing all the time. Korea is happy about this and thanks Lloyd. Then Lloyd asks Korea if she can return these monsters to their homes using her magic, but Korea isn't sure she can, given their large number. But Lloyd tells her that he can provide her with mana and enhance her spell, and he thinks that's enough. Then Korea steps forward to try and uses her special spell, but something strange happens. Her spell is blocked, which amazes Korea. She tells Lloyd that there's something in the forest. Then we move to Alan, who is meeting with the rest of the adventurers. He tells them that they are a group of weak adventurers. One of Lloyd's friends says that all the rank A adventurers are on external missions right now. Alan sees that all these adventurers are rank B or lower, and believes they are useful as human shields at least. He asks them to do their best so they don't hinder him, which angers the adventurers because of Alan's insult to them. Then Alan scolds them again and calls them stupid fools, and the adventurers get even angrier. Then the guild leader arrives and asks them to stop, saying they are there to face the monsters and don't have time to fight among themselves. Then Alan tells the adventurers that he will explain his plan to them. First, the mages will cast their strongest spells, and he expects each of them to kill at least 10 monsters. Then he, the knights, the beast, and the fighters will fight the monsters to buy time until the mages regain some mana and can launch the next strike on the monsters. This will be continued, and he believes this is a suitable solution to defeat a horde of monsters. Then Alan asks if there are any objections to this. Then one of the mages speaks and tells Alan that she can't use magic of that power, nor can the rest of the mages. Eliminating a horde of monsters is difficult for them, and defeating one monster is what they strive to do with their strongest spells, which angers Alan. He tells them that it's impossible that they can't do this. Then the mage Mia, who is in Alan's team, says that she also can't do that, which surprises Alan upon hearing this. Alan asks her what she's saying. Mia replies that her power has decreased lately, and she can no longer use her power like before. Then Alan approaches her and asks her why she didn't tell him about this problem before. But Mia tells Alan that she's not the only one with this problem, and the same applies to Lulu, Sheena, and even Lena. This angers Alan, and he asks them when this started happening. Lulu replies, "Since Lloyd left, what do you think?" Alan gets even angrier and believes they have been deceiving him all this time. But Lena tells him that he hasn't been deceived by any of them, and that he's the only one who hasn't noticed, because he's become as lax as a hero, and hasn't trained in a long time, which angers Alan because Lena admitted in front of everyone that he hasn't trained in a long time either. Alan tells her that she shouldn't say that. Then, Lena admits to Alan that he's not qualified to be a hero, which angers Alan, and he throws a punch at Lena, but Lena easily blocks his punch and stops him. Then Lena asks Alan to leave immediately, which shocks Alan. He receives mocking looks from the adventurers he scolded. Then Alan leaves immediately, and the rest of the team, except for Lena, follow him. Then everyone starts wondering what they will do now in front of the horde of monsters heading towards them, and that they no longer have a hero to lead them. One of them suggests that the only solution they have is to run away. Then Lena speaks to them and asks them to calm down. Then she tells them that she has left Alan's team now and asks them to fight alongside her, which excites the adventurers for her sake. Then Lena asks the adventurers if any of them know Lloyd. Then we move to Lloyd and Korya in the forest. Korya discovers that this black stone is what blocked her spell, but Lloyd was aware of it before. Korya asks Lloyd if he's seen it before. He replies that he met it before in another place. Then Korya tells Lloyd that they must destroy this stone, but Korya tells Lloyd about the existence of many of these stones in different places, and that if they don't destroy them, they won't be able to control the monsters, and she won't be able to use her spell. Then Lloyd sees that they must find the rest of the stones, and asks Korya if she can detect them. But Korya can only detect them when she is close enough, but Lloyd can do this, which surprises Korya. Then Lloyd uses his power and enhances Korya's senses. He uses a spell to discover the locations of the magic stones, and combines exploration magic with telepathy. Korya is amazed by this. Then Lloyd uses stealth magic, and now they can approach the stones without the monsters seeing them. He tells Korya that this spell is cancelled when they collide with something big, and asks Korya to be careful. Korya is increasingly amazed and asks Lloyd who he exactly is, but Lloyd replies that he's not a suspicious person. Then Lloyd and Korya approach the magic stone and neutralize its effect, which leads to the monsters being repelled from the stone. Then Lloyd says, "Let's go do this to the rest of the magic stones." Then we move to the city of Ishtar. All the adventurers are ready to face the monsters, and the knight asks the guild leader, "Are you sure about this?" But the guild leader told the knight not to worry, and he understood the knight's feelings since their lives depended on this man. Then we shift to the past, where Lena and the other adventurers in the guild were told by Lena that Lloyd is the backbone of the hero team. It wasn't Alin the hero or Sheena the saint, it was Lloyd the white sorcerer. This led the adventurers to wonder, as they thought he was just a supporter. Lena was asked by one adventurer why they expelled him then. Lena replied that the title of hero had blinded them, and they felt arrogant about their strength without realizing it was thanks to Lloyd, the supporting white sorcerer, so they expelled him. Then the guild leader appeared and told them it was impressive how the hero team fought. He asked Lena if she meant all this was Lloyd's doing, and Lena confirmed it, leaving everyone in great astonishment. Lena informed them that they could turn the tables by getting help from Lloyd and asked if anyone knew where he was. The leader informed Lena that Lloyd was not in the city. He was on a mission outside with an S-rank team, and their journey would take a few days. However, Lena believed Lloyd would make up for that time using his supportive magic and asked if they wanted to bet on Lloyd. Next, we return to the present, where the leader told the knight that everyone agreed with Lena's suggestion, and they were compelled to do this because they wanted to protect their families. The monsters then reached them, and Lena asked the archers to fire arrows, told the defenders not to be afraid, and to repel the monsters, asking them to push them back into the trench. She then instructed the sorcerers to cast spells, while the others used water magic, successfully killing a large number of monsters. However, the guild leader thought the current would sweep the monsters away and deepen the trench. If they could hold out until the return of the S-rank adventurers and the white sorcerer Lloyd, they would have a great chance. We then switched to Lloyd and Kureha, who were feeling extremely exhausted. Yui told them that they didn't have much left to reach Ishtar, and asked the rest of the team if they could keep running. They replied that they had plenty of energy thanks to Lloyd's support, and that he was making a tremendous effort to save Ishtar, so they could not stop to rest. They prepared to continue running toward Ishtar. Then we moved to Lloyd and Korea, who finally reached the last magical stone. Lloyd asked Korea to finish this quickly due to the presence of many ferocious monsters. Korea deactivated the spell on the magical stone, which ended the effect on the monsters. But the monsters remaining were different from each other and hated one another. They chose to fight instead of returning to the forest. The monsters then attacked each other, getting close to Korea, causing the stone to fall and hit Korea, leading to the disappearance of her invisibility spell, revealing her directly to the monsters. However, Lloyd shot fireworks into the sky, successfully distracting the monsters and revealed himself to them. We then moved to Ishtar, where the monsters continued their attack, but Lena urged them to hold on longer. One of the knights approached Lena and told her that the right side had been breached by the monsters and they could not hold out for much longer. There were also many monsters coming towards them, and fear appeared on the faces of the adventurers and knights, but a firepower appeared just in time, surprising everyone with this force. Here, the guild leader realized that Lloyd's team had arrived, and then Lloyd's team appeared. Next, we switched to Lloyd, who dodged the monsters' attacks while using evasion with enhancement magic, but this didn't last long. Kureha noticed that Lloyd was continuing to flee and not attacking attacking the monsters, and remembered his words because he didn't want the monsters to be harmed. He was doing this for her. While the monsters managed to catch Lloyd, Kureha used her power to draw all the monsters' attention to her, and saved Lloyd, pushing the monsters away from them and scattering them as well. Then Lloyd approached Kureha, and told her that this was amazing, and asked her what she did. Kureha told him that she convinced the monsters to return to the forest, saying that she did not control the monsters with her magic, but could communicate with them and convey her thoughts to them. Lloyd thanked Kureha for saving him, and she thanked him for not harming the monsters. Lloyd suggested they head to Ishtar now. Then we moved to Ishtar, where Lloyd's team each did their part and directed their strikes at the monsters, managing to eliminate a large number of them. However, the monsters were still numerous, and the front lines could no longer hold up. Their mana potions were also nearly depleted, and Kroos and Silica thought the situation was worsening. The monsters continued to attack them, but Lena kept motivating them and told them they still had a chance, continuing to repel the enemy, saving one of the adventurers. While checking on them, she was bitten by one of the monsters, causing her to become wounded and begin bleeding, leading to the other adventurers and knights stopping their resistance as well. They could not do anything more than this, and parts of the city were destroyed. They thought they were done for, and the leader could do nothing more until Kureha and Lloyd arrived. Kureha began communicating with the monsters with Lloyd's help. Then the effect on the monsters was cancelled, and they left, which amazed the others. Dagus thought that Lloyd had arrived just in time, and Kureha nearly lost consciousness, but Lloyd caught her. Kureha told Lloyd she was fine, just overexerted her power. However, Lloyd was amazed that she could communicate with so many monsters, and thought her magic was incredible. But Kureha believed it was Lloyd who had the amazing magic, saying she wouldn't have been able to sing her song in such a large arena by herself. She asked Lloyd what kind of supportive magic he was using. Then Lloyd told Kureha that he had layered several spells to reduce mana consumption and enhance his magical power, and he was supporting her. But there was no doubt that Kureha's power saved them from the monsters. Kureha then told Lloyd her real name was Claire, which astonished Lloyd. He asked her why she hid it for some reason, didn't she? But he would ask about that later. Then massive monsters appeared, attacking Ishtar.